Hello everybody and welcome to day 4 of my 31 days of Halloween challenge. Today I am finally reviewing Fae Farm. I got a review key for this game back when it was released. I did a gameplay showcase on the first chapter and I have since finished the game, so I thought I'd talk about my thoughts on it. I focused mainly on the story quests. As you can see, I'm close to the end of winter. It's taken me about 30 hours to get to this point, so it's not a very long story. First, let me talk about the typical farming activities. No matter what season you're in, you can expect to buy the same seeds at the beginning. Turnip, cauliflower and beans. You unlock other ones later, but that requires a higher farming level. You only get access to other seasonal crops by planting one of these and then putting on this magic crop swap fertilizer, which changes the crop you've planted into either a seasonal or a Fae or magical variety. As you can see here, I've put a bunch of this fertilizer on these turnips, and I have actually harvested the results of this before, but as you just saw from the shop, that doesn't mean they start selling the new seeds you've unlocked. The only way to keep track of the crops you have unlocked is by going into the almanac and actually checking for yourself, which isn't much of an issue if you like keeping on top of things like that. It just would be nice to have a way of actually buying them directly. If you're not particularly interested in experimenting with crops and things, you're going to be stuck to these main three. But let's talk about the flowers. The flowers are pretty much the exact same. There is an interesting mechanic where you can crossbreed flowers to create new ones. However, again, you can't buy seeds of the flowers you've just discovered, and you can only buy 3 types of seeds. Again, you can check what flowers you've unlocked in the almanac. It's something you do need to keep on top of if you want to keep planting them again and again, which isn't much of an issue. It's just extremely time consuming to actually create this flower, and you can move them around. So I can move this one over here and there is a chance that these two will create the same colour as this, but it's not 100% guaranteed. And you do need a bit of patience to actually make these flowers. Now, this isn't an issue for me because I quite like experimenting with all the different variations. However, if you're not interested, you will miss out on a few aspects of the game because these flowers you make are pretty important. But I'm going to get back to that in a moment. I'm pretty sure as I've been talking you have noticed this guy walking around. So this would be a good opportunity to talk about the relationships in Fae Farm. I'm going to talk about the friendships first. There are only a handful of people you can actually talk to in the town. All of these people around here don't actually exist. They are pretty much just shop people. If you talk to them, they will just say some generic thing about the season and what's been going on, but they don't actually have any distinguishable personalities. But let's talk about the people you can befriend. Take, for instance, this guy who lives all the way up here. When you talk to someone who you can befriend, these little icons pop up, and they do have more unique sayings, but it's nowhere near the level of friendship building that you'd expect from something like Stardew Valley, for example. As for the relationships, it is slightly more in-depth. They do each have their own personality. For example, one guy likes frogs, another guy likes trees. But if your favourite part of a farming sim is the relationships you have with the people in the town, I don't think Fae Farm will really suit you. And I will say it does feel like you are just stranded on this island all to yourself basically because the people you talk to just aren't there. You can befriend the animals. Interacting with them is a little awkward sometimes. Sometimes the prompt just does not show up, and if you're standing besides 2, it's really difficult to specify which one exactly you want to talk to. However, it is easy to take care of them. You just put feed in the little feeding trough and it automatically feeds them. And then every day, if you remember to feed them, you can collect produce from them like wool or milk. Unlike other farming sims, there are no produce ratings, and I have been ignoring my animals for pretty much the entirety of winter and they're all still on 3 hearts. So there's no real penalty for ignoring them or not feeding them, besides the fact that you won't get any produce from them. Now, there is a mechanic of animal breeding which lets you create these more unique colours, and these ones have 4 stars instead of 3. But again, that really makes no difference to the produce, so it's not really anything to be too concerned about if you're not interested in doing that. You can just fill up your barns with the animals you can buy and you're not going to be missing out anything. The majority of time you spend in Fae Farm will be spent in one of the dungeons. With the story quest, you gain access to a dungeon, you complete it, and then it unlocks the next dungeon, you complete that one, and it goes on to the next, and so on. The first dungeon you explore is the standard. You go around, you hit a rock, you push a button, and the door opens. However, the other 2 dungeons have a bit more of a puzzle aspect. I'm not going to spoil it for you because I think if you are interested, you should probably work out what it is yourself, but it is slightly more involved than just pushing a button. Now, the biggest draw of this game that I have noticed is the customization. And it's something that I have neglected a lot in my own farm, and that's because it is a little tedious. As you can see, I'm still wearing the starting uniform, I still have the starting wings. And that's because every customization option that you can think of, like the wings, different colours available, is incredibly expensive. Just for new wings, for example, you're looking at polished gemstones, flowers, and flutter dust. The flutter dust is the easiest thing to get on this list because you can just pick up butterflies wherever you go. But the flowers requires you to get more involved in the crossbreeding of the flowers. You can customize furniture and stuff as well. You can change a lot of the colours. However, you have to unlock different colour palettes, and like I said, I've mainly been focusing on the story, so I only have a block of 6 colours to work with, which doesn't give you much to go on if you want to customise your house to your liking. New colour palettes, like the wings, are also incredibly expensive. You can buy them from some of the vendors. For example, this lady here sells 4. Just like the wings, it does require you to spend time crossbreeding flowers. Now that I have finished the storyline and I'm actually focusing on this extra content, it is pretty enjoyable testing new configurations of flowers to find out what I can make. I will say, despite the fact that the colour palettes and the wings and all the other customization options are so expensive, it is incredibly easy to hoard stuff in this game. You can just stick pretty much everything you own into the storage. I haven't found a limit to this yet. As you can see, I have a couple of scrolls already of just stuff that I've collected, including 1 random butter. And because the food and stuff doesn't have any kind of ranking to it, you can just stuff everything in the chest along with your gemstones and ores and it'll be fine. You don't need to create a separate fridge. Finally, the last aspect of the game that I want to talk about is the skills. It's a bit like Rune Factory in you get skills in pretty much in almost everything you do. It's not quite as in-depth as Rune Factory. As you can see, there's only 10 skills you can unlock here. When you level up, you get these bonuses. For example, the cooking gives you Baker's Dozen and Gourmand, and if you check the almanac, it gives you a breakdown of what all the skill perks do. For example, you can cook a bonus meal or you can gain bonus energy. I found that because this game is so focused on the mining, my magic and mining levels are so much higher than animal care and even farming. The majority of the game can be completed just by catching critters, going through the mines. Catching bugs is about as rewarding as you would expect. It is pretty addictive to run around the map looking for things you can nab with your net. For example, there are bees absolutely everywhere. Unfortunately, the fishing isn't quite as simple. As you can see, I've only got fishing to level 8. And that's not because it's a bad fishing mechanic, it's just more time consuming than bug catching. It's been a few days since I've started this review, so going back to flowers for a moment, as you can see, this was a black flower that I moved over here, if you remember, and now it's popping up as a green flower, which is pretty much the same as the one next to it, so it's no guarantee that you'll get another colour that you unlocked before. Now, I wouldn't have spent 30 hours playing the game if it was completely awful. It does have its perks. However, if you are currently on the fence, I'd say definitely wait for a sale, because I think the game goes for $40 at the moment on Steam. Now, you can spend $60 on the Steam version as well for the deluxe edition, And that comes with DLC in the future, which apparently comes with additional regions you can explore. If you are looking to choose between standard and deluxe, I would just go for the standard for now, and then wait for the reviews of the deluxe edition when it comes out. That's about all I have to say for this game at the moment without turning this into an hour-long review. Let me know in the comments if you've tried the game, what you thought of it, or if you're planning on getting it, and I will see you next time. Bye!